Hello, this is Dimitris Karakasilis. I work on the Epinio project, and I'm going to show you how to deploy WordPress on DigitalOcean. The process should be similar on any public cloud provider where you can create Kubernetes clusters. I just chose DigitalOcean for this demo. So I'm going to start a timer here because I will fast forward some parts of the video to avoid having to wait, wait until the cluster is up. So you can see here the current timestamp, so how long it took. So first of all, you can visit epinio.io to read documentation, look at the code and anything else you want to do. So let me start by creating a cluster. The first thing you need is a Kubernetes cluster. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to my DigitalOcean dashboard, clicking on Create Kubernetes. I'll pick Frankfurt because it's closer to me. I'll leave the rest be defaults and hit Create Cluster. Let's wait until this is done. Okay, now it is done. It took it around 5 minutes. In order to talk to my cluster, in order to be able to use it, I have to download my kubeconfig file. I'll click the button, save it. All right. I'm going to move it someplace else. So I'm going to move. What was the name of it? Kates. Put it here. So I will use it by exporting the kubeconfig variable. I'm gonna use 2 terminals, so I'll do it here as well. Okay, let's check if we actually talk to our cluster. I'm using kubectl CLI. Okay, this is our DigitalOcean cluster. So the first step is done. We're done with the cluster. So now I need Epinio. Epinio comes as a binary, so I'll visit GitHub releases, find the URL to the binary that matches my operating system and architecture. So this is mine. Copy link, and I will download it here. I will now have to make it executable and move it somewhere. Let's put it in user bin, Epinio. So Epinio version. Okay, this is the one I downloaded. Okay, that one is ready. So Epinio will talk to the same cluster kubectl is talking, so I don't have anything else to do. I just have to install Epinio. I'll do it in 2 steps, and I'll explain why as we go. So first step is to install Ingress. And while this is happening, I'll explain what it does. So since I'm on public cloud, I don't have a public IP yet, which I can use to point my system domain to. I will only get a public IP address when I create a service on it. So what this does is it installs 2 things, linkerd, and then installs traffic. Traffic is the ingress controller on my cluster. You don't really have to know all the internals, but the reason we do it in 2 steps is because I want to get my IP, set up my DNS, so I'll create a domain, wildcard domain, and point it to this IP address. So all my applications will get a route automatically, and let's encrypt certificates and all. You'll see everything a bit later in the video. So I'll wait until this is done. Okay, we have traffic deployed on the cluster. You can now see So the tool I'm using here is called K9s. It's a very useful tool. You could use kubectl to do the same things. It's just faster if I use K9s to browse around the various Kubernetes resources. So what I'm actually waiting to happen is for traffic to get an IP address. You see it says pending. So this depends on the public cloud provider and um, how long it takes there to provision an IP, to give you an IP address, a public one. So we will just wait until DigitalOcean gives us an IP address for our load balance service, and then we can continue. All right, that took a while. This is the IP address we need. So the next thing I want to do is create a domain, a wildcard one, that points to this IP address. I'm going to create an A record. So I'm going to use something like, so my system domain for Epinio is going to be epinio demo dot karakasilis.me. That's a domain I own, and it's going to be a wildcard domain. So what you want to do is create an A record um, that points to your domain and the domain you own, a wildcard one, and use the IP address your traffic service got. So in future release of Epinio, this IP will be given to you automatically. Right now you have to find it by looking for the traffic service. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to insert a new A record. As I said, it's a wildcard domain, Epinio demo there, the IP address, and I'm saving it. So hopefully this will be instant. Let's try test.epinio.demo.karakasilis.me. This is the IP address I was expecting. So everything is set up. Everything is fine. Now I can continue with the Epinio installation. So the next command is Epinio install, and I have to tell Epinio what system domain I'm going to use. So this is the epinio demo.karakasilis.me. And that's all there is to it. So while this is happening, I'll show you what Epinio does behind the scenes on Kubernetes. You actually don't have to care about that, but I'm going to show you anyway. So I'm going to list pods here. So you can see, first of all, various namespaces have been created. Tecton, Quarks, Giti. These are various components Epinio uses um, internally, but these are not exposed to the user. So I'm just showing you behind the scenes now. Let's wait for it to finish. So here it is. Epinio installation is done. Um, you can actually already visit Epinio. It has a proof of concept dashboard for now, but you can already say https Epinio and then .your domain, and the credentials are the ones printed on your terminal. So these were generated for you. So we don't have any applications yet, so nothing to see here. It just, you can see that Epinio works, and actually that it got a Let's Encrypt certificate, so it's served over SSL. Let's do something useful with it now. We're going to deploy WordPress for this example, and there is actually a demo app you can use as a guide if you want to do the same. It has instructions. These are not for DigitalOcean. Actually, the instructions here are for a local cluster, but most of it should be similar. So we're done installing Epinio. And next thing we want to do is create a database for WordPress. I don't want to provision a database on a cloud provider. So for this example, I'm going to use a feature of Epinio, which is optional. So I have to enable it. Enable in services in cluster. Um, services in cluster. Yeah. So what this does is it deploys one more component called mini broker. This is a service broker that deploys services on your Kubernetes cluster using Helm charts. So it's using existing Helm charts, upstream Helm charts, to deploy services on your cluster. This is probably something you don't want to do in production, um, but for this example, it's going to work. So you probably don't want to do that because Helm chart deployed MariaDB may not be exactly what you want regarding performance and backups and other stuff. Okay, this is already deployed. Now I want to provision a database. I'm going to provision a MariaDB. So Epinio services list classes. So this will list all the kind of services I can provision with Epinio. So you can see I can have MariaDB, MongoDB, MySQL, and other stuff. What I need is a MariaDB though, so I can follow uh, the recommendation in the example WordPress repository here in order to create a database. So this will create a database called a service called WordPress. The class is MariaDB, so it's a MariaDB database. This is the plan. You can see it matches a MariaDB version. And these are parameters passed to the Helm chart, the underlying Helm chart. I'm using this just because I want my database, the automatically created database, to be called WordPress for reasons you will understand later. So I'm creating this database now. And by looking at K9s, we can again see what this command is doing. So you can see it created in the namespace WordPress, it created two pods, one called slave, the other called master. This is the terminology used by MariaDB. So this is going to be my database as soon as it's done. The MariaDB database is ready. We can list our services with Epinio services list. This should now list our database, the one we just created. Okay, we have a WordPress database. As you can see, it's not bound to any applications because we didn't push any applications yet. We're gonna do that in one step. That's the only step we need to do. The only step we need to take to deploy WordPress. So because I'm lazy, I'm going to clone this repository. You can do the same, by the way, unless you want another version of WordPress. So if I git clone, I can show you what is in this repository and how you can use another version of WordPress. Okay. So you can see I have a directory and two files. The README is obvious. It's the README. I have BuildPack and I have WordPress, and actually I have a hidden directory here, which I'll explain what it is. So the WordPress directory is the tarball you download from the WordPress.org website, extracted. The only addition to that is the WP config file, which doesn't exist. So you are supposed to take the sample PHP file and copy that to PHP, modify this to match your settings, whatever you want to do, and save it. So I've already included that. The only additions to this file, so the only way we changed the sample file is that we changed the database connection details. So we create 4 variables and update the database connection settings with these. So they read a file in /services/WordPress/username. So WordPress is the service we created. In our application container, for every service we bind to it, there's going to be a directory, and in there are going to be details. So the MariaDB creates these files: the username, the password, host, and database. So we prepare this file so it can connect to the database immediately after the WordPress starts. The other file that is interesting here is the buildpack YAML. So we use this to tell the PHP buildpack. So the buildpack is the thing that will build the container for our application. So we're telling this buildpack that we want this version of PHP. This is our the script it has to run first. This is where our application starts. Use Nginx, and this is where our files are. So this has to match WordPress here. And finally, there's one more interesting file under .php.ini.d extensions ini. This is how the PHP build pack understands how you set up, how you change, how you instruct the build pack to add PHP extensions. So we need these two for WordPress. One is for compression, the other is to be able to talk to the database. So we have everything in place now. All we have to do is push our application, but I will also bind the service in one step. So I'm going to push I'm going to push the WordPress application and bind the WordPress um, service. So this is the service name, this is the name for my application. I don't need to specify a directory because it's the current directory. So yeah, it asks me if these are the correct details, gives me some time to approve, and then continues uploading the code. So this is where my files are, the files for my Epinio application. This is the organization it's deploying it to. So it matches a namespace in Kubernetes terminology, and it will bind this service there. Epinio push is done, and we got a route. So you can see it's using the domain, the system domain we specified, and the WordPress, the name of the app is the subdomain. So I can simply copy link address, and I can open it. Okay, something went wrong. Let's debug it. That's good. Okay, that was temporary. Okay, so everything is fine. This is the installation wizard of WordPress. I can hit continue. Let's name it Epinio demo, Dimitris, then something simple. I'm going to delete it after this video. Confirm, do that, install. Very weak. Oh yeah, an email address, test@epinio.io. Yeah, all right, install. Yep, everything is done. I can now log in. No, it was up to 7. And yep, there it is. So we can visit our WordPress site, which is running on DigitalOcean. You can see I got a certificate, a Let's Encrypt a certificate. So I'm on TLS. I have a domain I can use. And I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.